Chicken, Peter, you're just a little chicken.
Are you calling chicken? Are you calling chicken? Are you calling chicken? Are you calling chicken?
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Netflops podcast. This is the podcast where we rate movies that are low rated on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. And by we, I mean me, your host, Andy Doherty, and my co-host, Adam Janketic. Adam, how you doing today, man?
I'm just so upset we have to do more of these. Like, we're not done, you know?
Let's get into so welcome to Hallmark December. All this month we're watching Hallmark Christmas movies. And this first one we watched was called Fur Crazy on the streaming service, but maybe
AKA Christmas.
Yeah. So let's get into the title first. That's the first thing I wanted to go about. It's a movie about a woman who loses her job around Christmas time, and she has to go back to work on her parents' Christmas tree farm.
No, she doesn't work at the farm.
She doesn't work at the farm.
Sells the trees.
She sells the trees in New York City.
In New York City, on a corner.
It was supposed to be, I think they paid the department store to like sell them on the sidewalk, and then when Colin Mockery's character comes around, who's the CEO of the department store, he's like, nah, they're all over the place.
Nothing made sense ever in this movie.
But like that's where I go back and forth of being like, was this supposed to be called Fur Crazy, or was it supposed to be called Oh Christmas Tree?
That's the thing, because I was like looking around and trying to find. Also, there's just straight nothing on this movie that we both can find. There's no like Wikipedia. There's no like fan page. Check the Reddit. Like, I'm trying to get like stuff from like IMDb or like anything, and there's nothing about this movie.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what I feel like these episodes are going to be like. They're going to be more filled with us critiquing the movies than they are about information that we can find, because that was scary. That, I mean, it's a 2010 movie, or was this a 2013 movie? 15. Yep. Wow.
13.
Oh, okay. I misheard you. But so I mean, I guess the Hallmark Channel wasn't really established to what it is today. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe that's something we could have researched more, but we're already this deep.
Listen,
so.
We logged onto the Hallmark Channel. I made my account, and the first movie I saw under Christmas movies was Fur Crazy, and I was like, we need to do that.
I just like loathe. Like, we finished it, and it was like, look at this one. This one has Billy Ray Cyrus. This one has. I'm just like, what? There's like words.
Yeah, and we got to pick 4. Well, we got to pick 3 more. Thank God.
What was the other one you were describing to me? You're like, it was a movie that they turned. It was like a Christmas investigation CSI.
Oh yeah, there's going to be murder mystery ones. I really want to grab a murder mystery one. I mean, your and my mother both love these type of movies, so yeah,
like this is on Christmas time is either you log on TV and we get the Christmas music going, or like it's just Hallmark Channel like on loop.
Oh, I meant any time of the year, because like, didn't your mom text you like there is no bad Hallmark movies?
Yeah, I was like, oh hey, I know you watch a lot of Hallmark. Any ones where you're like, oh yeah, like not so great, like, or like avoid this one. She was like, she was like, number 1, there is not a single bad Hallmark movie. So I was like, all right, not getting over that.
Yeah, mine too. Mine was also like, no, you need to watch. Like, I think I told the story on this podcast about how my mom was crying at the end of Murder, She Baked, which is actually a series, by the way. It's not even a movie.
See, the thing is, like, how does like a rational thinking human being, like, not like, granted, there's probably some like all right Hallmark movies where it's like, oh yeah, like it goes through the motions, it's pretty basic, and it's like, oh yeah, Christmas movie. But this one, like, not a like good quality about any of this.
Yeah, like the acting. I think the two actors, like the woman who plays Elise and what's the love interest
Darren
name? Yeah,
is the love interest.
and Darren. I think that when they were both on screen together, they had some pretty good scenes. Those were probably the best scenes compared to everything else.
Uh, I would beg to differ that they had one good scene, and it was the one scene where they like finally were like, "Oh yeah, let's actually go out." I think the cousin Lance was like pushing them in,
Shane.
and then they had a good scene. Oh, Lance was the ex-boyfriend. I'm sorry, I'm
Yeah.
getting my very similar looking white dudes
Yes.
across this entire movie
Mhm.
mixed up.
1000%.
Um,
Yeah, you
but
you really think that they only had
right,
one good
just
scene?
that one scene. Yeah, because their ice skating scene horrible. The scene at the end where he like comes back or whatever, horrible. Like no chemistry, no acting. It was that one scene where like they were just like, all right, you know what? We're not gonna tell you anything, just do it. Or maybe there was like the first scene of the movie and they like tried, and then the other scenes happened, and they're like, oh, it just went downhill, you know?
I may be thinking of this comparatively, but I think they had the best on-screen chemistry out of any two people in this movie. Not that there was a lot of people in this movie.
You're comparing it to the parents who were like so awkward around each other, and they're like they kissed once, twice, and it was like, oh like why? Like,
That weird family that she brings the tree to that has an ornament for every like event in their lives. Them
yeah,
too. I don't know.
yeah, that was a weird one. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I just think that Elise and him just had like I think the charity scene with the kids, although they weren't really together in that scene, it was pretty much her just acting with kids, and the kids were like,
Yeah.
"So you fucking our teacher or what?" And she's like, "Aren't you guys like 10?"
Oh my! I wish I read that. Yeah, right. The little girl said something. I was like, what? Because halfway through this movie, me and Andy just like I took a literal break. I like laid face down on my couch and just like breathed heavily. I don't know what you did, Andy.
I was giggling the whole time. Honestly, I'm gonna probably rate this a point higher than I should because I was giggling the entire time, just going, "This is so incredibly awful that like the fact because I was scared because when you told me that your mom said that there is no bad Hallmark movie, I went and checked the ratings and we're probably going to break our ratings code for this podcast.
Justly, because on IMDb it's 6.4, but there's no like Rotten Tomatoes to go off. There's no like the Google reviews. I think it was like 87% like this movie.
Yeah.
There's no like actual like review things. And all the user reviews I found on like other websites are like real hard hitting like jokes shitting on the movie. They're like someone just quoted that was missile totally uncool, and that guy said that with a straight face, and that's the fucking review, and it's 1 star.
I mean that's what I said in my Google review and I give it 1 star. So yeah, just I mean it was such an awkward movie, you know, like it just felt so awkward.
Yeah, there was like stuff I kept groaning at, like the repeat tree jokes, like super basic, like, oh, like, yeah, the lady hates Christmas and then she loves Christmas, great.
But like I mean some of like you know
The
and that's a
tropes.
trope and everything, but like the fact that one I hated the most because she mildly didn't like Christmas, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like she was tolerant of how much she didn't like Christmas.
yeah, she like her reasoning, which I'll say I'll like, oh, I understand, is like when your family works all of whatever November, December, trying to get out, like, that's when they make the most sales, that's when it's most stressful, and then like, literally Christmas happens, they're like, all right, we can like have a break, have a breather. I'm like, why would you not like Christmas then? Christmas is the day you stop working and like everything's accomplished. Like it's like the deadline date. I'm trying
I
to
think
like
she flips out on
talk around it.
Shane. I think she flips out on Shane when he's like, just go into the trailer because they couldn't like lock up the trees for whatever reason, so they have to stay in this trailer. And like she was like, no, I stayed in that trailer like all of my childhood, every single like Christmas day. We wouldn't like get a big giant Christmas dinner that all these other families would have had. Like we had to get Chinese takeout. That was her like big flip out moment.
Well, I feel like that's super common though. That's not even a trope. That's like, oh yeah, if you're like don't care about Christmas, or if you're like Jewish, you don't celebrate. You get
Yeah.
like Chinese takeout because that's what's open.
It was just very strange to like the level at which she complained about it, but also she was so tolerant of it.
Yeah. Like I say, if it was like, oh, like my dad, he worked in this business his whole life, he like divorced my mom to stay with his, I'd be like, oh yeah, then you'd be like, oh, I could like, connect that with my father leaving or whatever, my father being that way with Christmas. But like, it was just like, oh yeah, like I worked on the tree farm. I don't like Christmas.
Yeah, and then she like so quickly. I mean, it's a trope, but she so quickly just sinks in. Is like she's at the coffee shop, and he's like the guy at the whatever the Starbucks ripoff. He's like, you don't want your no Christmas coffee, right? And she's like, nah, put some nutmeg in it. Like, I was like, oh fucking Christ.
That's another like weird thing that was happening. That was that like they kept going to this random coffee shop.
Well, that's the only real thing. There was just this movie took such weird turns at certain points that I'm just like, were they just trying to be different? Like they knew that they were just harping on the same tropes that they always harp on in these movies, and then they're just going to be like, oh, we did these 3 things different in like cut scenes where we go to a coffee shop. When she's hauling the tree across New York City streets, like she stops in front of people breakdancing and gives them money, and then they haul the tree for her. Like just these weird fucking like what the fuck was that?
You know what that is? In my opinion, that's a Canadian director when they're shooting in Canada being like, oh, this is how people like treat each other in New York, right? Like this is how New York is.
That's 1000% correct.
You go out in the sidewalk and you sell trees, right? That's what New York is. Also, another thing that like is blown completely out of fucking proportion is she lives in like New York City, and her parents live in like the Finger Lakes, like a 9-hour drive north that she makes like 4 times.
Yes. For no reason. Like unannounced too.
To be like, Mom, I lost my job. And she's like, all right, stay here for a day, then go back to your apartment that you paid for.
That you're now in debt, in criminal debt for.
Well, no, it's right. You can like pay for the apartment. She's not renting an apartment. She paid for the apartment. So I don't know if she has like loans or some shit.
Well, there was only one time where we saw her pick up a bill and see her stress about it, and that was when she was supposed to go with like her ex-boyfriend to like Aruba or whatever, and she picks it up and she like frowns and she's like and then like puts it down. We never see her touch another bill again.
Yeah, there was also, not that it's like crazy important, but like they weren't like hitting a money deadline. They weren't like, it was just like, we made enough money this year and then some. Like, great. Like,
and wasn't the business crumbling?
Important, but yeah. Oh my, that's a whole nother fucking thing we just stepped in. Is the parents like are like losing business. They're constantly struggling. They're like, oh, we're gonna have to like put a lien on the house, but we have to keep selling Christmas trees. There's nothing else we could do besides keep this farm alive and sell Christmas trees, even if we fucking die doing it.
I literally thought their only thing that they did was sell Christmas trees.
No, but I'm saying like the dad like dropped a frozen turkey in his leg, and then they should have been like, oh, we're gonna sell the farm and be set the rest of our lives. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, she kept saying, pushing them. She was pushing them, saying like, "Why don't you guys retire?" Because she really didn't want to go work and sell these Christmas trees in New York City. It was just so weird. Like, on the sense of nothing made sense. That 1000% was not explained well and did not make sense.
Well, I don't know off the top of my head if they like said like, oh, it's this many acres, that many acres, but like that much land in like upstate New York goes for so much money.
Yeah,
and they could have just sold it and been done instead of like constantly been struggling every year to sell Christmas trees.
And then also she could have like the daughter could have gotten her way of like. That could have been the point in which she pushes back, right? When she's like, no, I don't want to work there. You guys can go get a condo and sell that farm, Yeah. But then, at the end of that conversation, when she's like saying like, you guys need to retire, blah, blah, blah. You know what they say to her? We bring the magic of Christmas.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, nope, we will suffer so other people can have Christmas trees. Like they aren't the only fucking people doing that.
Well, it was funny because like, during the when the department store, so Colin Mockery takes over the department store, he's like this new CEO and he's like, everybody's under fire, like if you fucking cross me or whatever, you're gonna be fired in 2 weeks. And yeah,
I wouldn't he's not the new CEO. He is the CEO, but he like has like 3 department stores, and he was like bouncing between them or something.
No, he took that one over. Like, just took that one over recent to the movie starting.
When was that stated? Because I don't remember.
In the beginning, I remember it being like he's the new. I remember him saying, "Oh, like Isaac, his like right hand man, or like I don't even know what the fuck that guy's job was, but he worked
His
at the department
position
store."
wasn't that high. Like they were like buddy, Elise and Isaac. Like they were like, she was like his like supervisor or some shit. It wasn't like he was
Yeah, he was like,
something.
but no, but he constantly talked to the CEO.
Well, the CEO also constantly talked to like the homeless guy outside.
who Elise ends up not only befriending, but also says, "Ah, yeah, we can pay for you."
Yeah.
Oh my god. How funny was it when she goes to throw up that coffee cup the first day that she gets like the Christmas coffee or whatever, and she goes to throw it out, and he like grabs her arm and just goes, "Hey, like watch it there, like don't litter or something like that." And he takes it. I thought he was gonna start like drinking out of the coffee.
Drinking it. Yeah, that would have been hilarious. No, he grabbed it and was like, "Hey, come on, recycle. It's New York." I thought he was gonna take a sip. Like that would have been funny. He just takes it in his hand and holds it. It's like, what? Also, and you know, I'm realizing now, like reading my notes. Remember that the entire time they're an athletic shoe company.
Yes.
Why are they selling like ornaments and they didn't have shoes?
No.
In the entire fucking
That's
store?
different. That's the job that she got fired from.
Oh, right. Okay.
And what was the name of it again? I actually forgot.
Step shoes,
Step shoes.
right? That's what I have in my notes at least.
I saw a review that said it called it a Nike ripoff.
Oh.
And the reason that they fired her was because he was like, her boss was like, "Well, look at your shoe." He was like, first off, sales are in the toilet. And he said, "Look at your shoes." And she was wearing high heels. And he's like, "We work at a sports athletic company." And I'm like, that has no bearing to what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, and speaking of that, like that's something they harp on, and then later in the movie, instead of wearing high heels to work at like selling Christmas trees, she puts on whatever, like
Soulless
Nikes or yeah, like
soulless
fucking whatever,
shoes,
yeah,
paper shoes.
yeah.
Like those were.
And then I thought it was gonna come up again to be like whatever. Her old boss would come over and be like, "Oh, hey, I see you're more dedicated to the brand or some shit." I don't fucking know. Nothing made sense.
Well, it was just weird that like that was a growing moment.
Yeah, right.
And it didn't really like it wasn't like a gradual change. It was the overnight change of, "Oh, I made a kid believe in Christmas." Meanwhile, like 2 scenes later, a kid walks up and is like, "Santa's not real, is he?" And she's like, and swindles her for a free tree.
God. You want to talk more about what do you want to get into? Like really starting from the top and like why did it start at Thanksgiving?
Yeah, and like, you know, because the thing is that the father dropped the turkey on his foot, and I was like, are all these movies like gonna like start Thanksgiving and go into Christmas too? Because I'm gonna also hate that.
Yeah, because that feels weird. But it's again, they did it to drop the turkey on the shoe. That's about it. Then it kind of glosses over.
Well, the thing is too is that like I guess it's supposed to say like give you like a timestamp of when she gets fired, which she goes to the fucking headhunter. She's like, "I hired a headhunter," which is probably the most in response to last week's episode about the ice road. It is the most said word in this movie by far. And she like the headhunter that she's talking to, she's like, "Yep, got nothing for you." You know, like, and I'm like, it's Christmas. You could totally she could have probably gotten a job at the department store that Colin Mockery owned.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she does in the end, but
but
yes.
Not as like a higher up employee.
No, didn't he like need the head?
No,
of
I mean when
marketing
she was looking
like,
for the job around Christmas time.
Oh yeah.
Like, you could have just been a seasonal employee somewhere. There's no way that no jobs, because like, isn't she's talking to her Italian friend that is also Jewish, whose voice changes from one scene to the next.
That scene, just to pause right there. So like literally they're having coffee, and her friend, like, darling, I'll tell you. Thank God I don't celebrate Christmas, and pulls out her fucking Star David necklace that she then tucks away and it's gone forever. She's like, let me tell. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
And then like we'll talk normally. We'll just
Yeah.
be like, oh yeah, blah blah blah. She like calls her later and she's like, hey, what are you wearing? Oh, come on down. And she's like, hey, I brought you pizza.
Yeah, I don't know. She kept contradicting the Jewish statement. Again, never comes back up that she's Jewish, besides that first line that she has. Nancy. There we go.
I didn't even know her name. And then she starts hitting on Shane, the cousin.
No, like, look, didn't I say, because we watched this together, like the first scene that they're in, I'm like, she gave him fuck me eyes. Like,
Yeah, and she like, I there was like an illusion too, like towards the end when Elise was getting with like Darren when they were talking to each other. Like I think Nancy just looks over at Shane as just like she says something to whoever's around her and says like, I'm gonna go do that or something like and starts walking over to Shane. Fucking wild.
Yeah, there's a few times where they like wind up together because it's the four of them, and then Elise and Darren just like go off and do their thing. They're like, oh well, it's just two of us, eh?
I honestly hated like even though they acted well together, I hated that relationship between Elise and Darren.
Oh yeah, I hated it too.
Because yeah.
No, go ahead, because I'll remember. I want to get into him buying the Christmas trees.
Yeah, well, he's a stalker. He's 1000% a stalker, and that's how they meet. He keeps coming around to the Christmas tree lot that they have and keeps on like buying trees, but we don't even see him buy trees. He pretty much just like walks up to Shane and he's like, hey, guy that works here, what is it going to take for me to talk to the pretty girl? And he's like, oh, well, she's like helping a kid pick out a tree right now, so I don't think I could really bother her. And he's like, all right, see you later, I guess, and like walks away. It's just like a big fuck you to Shane.
Yeah, because like, what? Imagine you're working at fucking whatever Home Depot, and like some random girl just keeps going up like, oh hey, I need some fertilizer, but can that guy help me? It's like, what? Can you leave actually? Like,
well, it's just like, well, you know what? He's helping an elderly woman like with 5 pieces of balsa wood right now, so. I don't think that 90-year-old lady can handle all that wood by herself. So,
yeah, it was weird because I didn't know it was a love interest right away.
We were guessing on the love interest.
Yeah,
because like when the cousin pops out and it's like, okay, semi-attractive looking guy, this is probably going to be the love interest, and then he just goes, "Hey, cuz, what's up?"
that's a whole nother thing. So they like start up. She's like, she agrees to the family thing. Yeah, and then he pulls in the truck and the trailer to the lot, and he starts unloading it. And he's like checking his watch because she promised she'd be there at whatever time. And he's like burly. He's got like the lumberjack jacket on, like beard. I'm like, oh, all right. There's gonna be like, oh, hey, remember we used to work at the farm type deal. And like you said, it was just like, hey, cuz, what's going on?
And he was not smart at all.
No.
That poor dude. I hope he's like he has to be like that in real life, right? There's no way that he's just like they were just like, act like you don't know shit. Act like you've been on a tree farm your entire life.
And he's like, oh boy, howdy, I know how to do that.
Fur crazy.
Fur crazy. Yeah. I hate the whole relationship between Elise and Lance, the ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, well, that just like it was again where this movie just doesn't make any sense because they break up in the beginning after she gets fired. Like they had this whole trip planned to Aruba, and then like he knocks on the door and he's just like, "Yeah, we're not going to Aruba. Yeah, maybe we should break up." Oh, you said it. You said break up, not me.
Yeah.
That shit was fucking cringe.
And then when they meet one other time later in the movie, if I'm correct, and he's just like, "Oh, hey, I got the VP position. You know how much money I fucking make now. You wanna like try this again?" And she was like, "Actually, I went on one date with one guy, so I don't know."
And it was just perfect. And then fucking wet blanket Darren walks over and is just like, "Oh, I see you got plans tonight. Never mind on our plans, even though I stalked you for the last 5 days."
Yeah, and like literally, like in the moment, me and Andy were like talking about it. Like she's like, "Oh, hey, this is my ex. We're not a thing. He broke up with me." And then talked to Lance and was like, "Hey, Lance, you got to go, right?" And then Darren was like, "I'm clearly interrupt. I'm third wheeling right now. I have to go." Like,
Yeah, it's like the stakes were so incorrectly set up in this movie that when they were like, shit, now we made her like Christmas again. So fuck, that was the whole like pivotal part of her character that had a flaw in it, is that she didn't like Christmas. So now we made her like Christmas. Now these other things need to pile up. And then they just ignored like the fact that the business was crumbling.
yeah. Yeah, speaking of, I'm looking over notes. I have a quote from the mom. "I'm sure the bank will be fine if we're late on payments."
I think that was from the dad.
Oh, from the dad? Okay. I just have quotes around it. I didn't mark it. But yeah,
Well,
I think
they
you're right.
call her and they're like, "How's it going?" And she's like, "Can't you just talk to because like it wasn't going well. She was fucking hating it. She was on like her phone the whole time." And in the beginning of the when she starts working there at the tree lot. And she goes like, "Well, can't you call what's his name? Can't you call Shane about that?" And they go, "Well, you know what, Shane, he either says it's good or it's not good." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's a fair point. Fuck you, Shane."
I get like that's another thing. I don't get how like money was not just been like, "Oh, we have to hit this mark," or like, "Oh, we got to sell this amount of trees and that way we won't be under." It was just like so vague, like the money aspect of it.
Yeah. And like again would have been a great stake, but instead they chose
Yeah,
that
right?
the ex-boyfriend comes back and is like, "Hey, I make more money now, you can come fuck me again." And then like the fucking new boyfriend's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be jealous."
Well, I don't know how many of the cast were like Canadian, but maybe they're just like, "Oh, I don't know fucking American dollars. I don't know how much is what." Like they didn't want to like Google like the conversion rate of like loonies and toonies to be like fucking
How many loonies makes a dollar?
exactly. There was like, "Oh no, I refuse to think about that."
I mean, did the other movie that we watched that was made in Toronto, Canada, did which also dealt with a business that was failing in the fucking Italian movie.
I know,
Little
like
Italy.
Little Italy.
I couldn't remember. Thank God I'm blocking these movies out, by the way. Thank God.
Yeah, we're like 24 hours after watching, and I tell you, I remember nothing. I'm just like getting reminded when we're talking about something. I'm like, "Oh yeah, that happened. Oh yeah, that happened." I'm so glad it's not like in
Honestly,
my mind.
I wouldn't have it another way. Dude, I bet you on our next recording, I'm going to fuck up scenes from this movie and the next movie we watch.
Oh, they're gonna be so similar.
Oh man, it's gonna be so bad. No, but we got to do Billy Ray Cyrus one. So,
Oh, that one looked good.
but back into this movie. So, yeah, I mean, there was just so many different problems that they could have put in there because, like, they were also fighting with the department store because they were plugging in like the cheapest Christmas lights I've ever seen in my life. They
Yeah,
were
the
plugging them in.
30-year-old, like it was like the old bulbs you see on like the sidewalks of New York City that have just been there forever, and they just like plug them in and hope they work every year.
And they plug it apparently into the same line that the department store had for electricity, and it was shorting out an entire department store
With a line of fucking Christmas lights, and that was it.
like that department store also not well run.
Yeah.
Just gonna put it out there. But also another problem from that movie is that like they were fighting with the department store the whole time. So like, and eventually like Colin Mockery's character, like I forgot what his name was. It was like Mr. Wilson or something like that. Gary last name?
Nope.
No, he had to have a last name because they showed the bench where his dead wife was. Spoiler alert.
Well, no, because I'm going off the cast list on Google, and this movie is so like under the radar that I know Elise had a last name too because it was like the name of the farm. But
McReynolds.
Was it really?
Yes.
Oh,
Elise
okay.
McReynolds, Darren Foster. I have that written down. And Colin Mockery's character was known as Gary Dixon.
Carrie Dixon. All right.
And that is the last. Oh no, there's one more. Miss Gardner, who I don't know who that is.
Maybe.
The woman who works at the woman who gets the tree delivered to her.
No, because that's Maria. Maria is the one that works at City Hall.
Oh,
That just scapegoated them with that fucking fine or whatever they got.
yeah, that was insane too. Was that Gary Dixon gets rid of all the trees? Colin Mockery's character finally it's like, oh yeah, we called a complaint to the fire department, and the fire department takes all their trees away, and like a guy in like a towing truck, like.
Yeah, that whole thing again. That's just not understanding like America, let alone New York City. So like my first like thought is like, wait, hold on, they're pulling up to a random sidewalk. Wait, they're just like putting trees out. Wait, what are they doing? Where's their permit? Where's their anything?
Yeah.
Then I was like, they parked their like trailer on a street of New York City, and I was like, no.
But I think that was the point, though. The point was that they had to deal with the department store.
Well, it was like it was weird because it wasn't an alley; it was like a square indent. Next to the apartment store. It was weird.
That was legit not a New York alley.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Trying to think. It wasn't. Did they call it a quad or like was it?
Oh, is that what they were calling the quad?
I think so. Right.
I thought they were calling the quad where Darren taught.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to think of
No, you might be right, because when they say to each other a couple times, "See you around the quad."
That's my rationale of this is fucking. I don't know.
Canadian terminology, baby, in a New York movie.
Yeah. Oh, because I don't think Sarah Lancaster is Canadian.
I don't think so either. She did not talk with a New York accent though the entire time.
Yeah.
Which I guess can be justified because they say like, "Oh, she just moved there."
She was born in Kansas, so.
Okay. Everybody else talked with an well, no, not even Colin Mockery did either.
Nope. And I don't know what accent Darren had either.
He went back and forth. He had like a normal, not distinguishable, and then he'd be like, "Oh my god, I teach kids." It was
he is Canadian.
Yeah, I felt like his New York accent came on way too strong. Like when you notice it, you know what I mean? Like you're like, oh wow, that's pungent, you know? Like,
yeah. The only I want to say, didn't Lance have he had like a Boston accent, right?
He was in so little of the movie that I can't even tell you.
No, because I'm trying to remember. No, right? I could have sworn it was Boston accent. He's also Canada born.
Yeah, so they were all doing accent.
Yeah.
Well, half of them were. Half of them weren't. Yeah, go ahead.
We originally, when we heard The Magic of Christmas, we were gonna set up a tally, but it was only said once.
Yeah, and that was also like, I feel like that's the point when the movie really changed, you know? Because like it was flowing okay. You were like, all right, they're hitting some tropes, and I think we paused it and we both like took laps around the room because the minute they were just like, but it's the magic of Christmas, and then all of a sudden Christmas music started playing, right? Like,
well, that was the turn from it was. Oh, it's Thanksgiving. Oh, Christmas come up. Oh, I got fired. And it's like magic of Christmas. Woo! Like Christmas lights going up, like trees. Like let's do all this Christmas stuff. Yeah, you're right.
Although I think this movie was paced well until about like the halfway point, and then the second half of this movie was absolutely slow as fuck.
Which is odd though, because in the first half, I remember we took a good amount of break. This is like a hour movie. We took like almost 3 hours to watch it.
I mean, well, we were just getting, because it was just so much, you know, these movies are supposed to be campy, right? They're supposed to have like a level that's campy, that's just going to be like, you can kind of almost turn off your brain to like watch them. So you don't really have to be paying attention to storylines, you know? Things just kind of happen for no reason, just for the sake of happening, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, like we would watch something happen and then be like, well, what's this about? And then like Maria, she'd be like, oh, here's my number. I work at City Hall, and that's the end of the fucking scene. I'm like, well, that's very specific. Like,
Yeah, you're gonna deliver my tree today, right? And then after she delivers the tree, the woman goes, and she's pregnant. The woman goes, oh yeah, I could have just had my husband do that.
she's like, I don't know, you were gonna bring it here. I would have just sent my fucking husband. Yeah.
Come on in, we gotta tell you some stories.
Yeah, literally, she's like, well, you deliver it and you're here and you live in the same building, so come in.
Yeah, that was convenient too. That she was like, oh yeah, it's right around the corner from me, so I gotta walk home that way anyway.
Oh, that was the lack of information is so broad. Because, like, all right, so let me break this scene down. Literally, just random people. Like, we've seen this like many times. Like, a kid will come up, and be like, "Oh, tree." They're explaining trees. Also, do you remember what they called? She was like, I don't know any tree names or tree brands." Wasn't she like right on that? Where aren't there different brands of trees?
Yeah, no, she was like, I don't know the tree brands, and then Shane looks at her and they're like, there's types of trees, not brands.
Anyway, breaking the scene down. So like we've seen a bunch of people come up by trees. They like talk nonchalant, blah blah blah. So this like couple, you know, out of nowhere, she's like, "Oh, what kind of trees there?" And she's like, "Oh, well, this tree is like fuller. This tree, like, you know, if you want the house to smell like pine, this go for this tree." And she just goes, "Oh, we'll take it." Hands her money. Hey, can you drop it at my house? Yeah, I'll do it later. And that's the scene end. And then we see them like actually talk. And like I'm pausing the movie, just fucking like. Just like rearing back in my seat, like, what the fuck did I just watch?
And I'm just laughing, incoherently laughing. I mean,
how?
Beautiful.
How?
So beautiful.
How, like that's like the fucking. Oh, you're my favorite customer. Oh, hi, doggy. Like, you know what I mean?
Do not compare this to the masterpiece that is The Room.
Dozen roses. Oh, hi, Johnny. Oh, hi, doggy. And then scene ends. It felt like fucking that level of incoherence of just like things happen.
Yeah, I mean, she also gains knowledge for no reason. Like, there was never a point that she was like asking Shane, or like, you know, when she finally goes into the trailer, which she had a vendetta against going into the trailer for the entire movie also. Like, she doesn't go in and like find like a book or something that lists all the trees, and she's like, oh, I gotta study this or something. She just has knowledge. Like when
no, I would argue she grew up on a tree farm. She has a vast amount of knowledge.
And do you think that in the beginning of the movie, when she's just like, I don't know, it's a fucking tree or whatever,
exactly,
do you think that she's just doing it to be blasé, like she's just doing it because she doesn't give a fuck? Okay,
absolutely.
Okay. Because I took that as, because there's a part later in the movie when Darren's like, oh, we could have had you at our trivia night last night. And she was like, oh, I'm great at trivia. She's like, what'd you guys place? And he's like 8th or whatever, like last. And he goes like, I didn't know like the capital of Beirut. And like some like random ass fucking question. And she knew the answer to it. So I'm like, where is she getting this information from?
Well, I think the thing they were trying to put across is she was like 28, I think. And like was in line to be a VP at a very prestigious position, right? So it's like she just is naturally smart.
VP of marketing, she was
VP of marketing, yeah. I don't remember if she was like, oh, I went to this college or I went to whatever, studying fucking Oxford. Like, I don't think that was said.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, and that's even crazier why she couldn't get a job.
Yeah, I know. Like, yeah, the block of like, oh, it's Christmas, no one's hiring Christmas, and just like that's it. Like you couldn't find any other job with those credentials. And
like again, she would have found, like, she was like, oh, there's just nothing out there, and she's talking with the friend Maria at like a bar, and the woman's like, well, you could go back. I think they were at a bar. Maybe they're at the coffee shop.
That's a whole nother set piece, Andy. There's like 3 set pieces.
We could only afford 2.
Yeah.
But she was talking, I guess because I saw the bar stools, maybe I just made a connection that way, and they were drinking coffee on bar stools. I don't know. It makes fucking sense in this movie. But like she's talking to Maria, and she's saying like, there's just no jobs out there, like besides my family's place. And the woman just says, oh well, yeah, like, you know, it's a job and it's your family, so you should go support them. You know, like. So there was a time where she could have gotten like the level of a job of selling Christmas trees, which is a seasonal job. She could have gotten at another department store.
Yep.
So that job line was completely open to her.
No, and then the one job her headhunter got her was like the number one competitor of the like whatever shoe place, and all they wanted to, it was so weird. All they wanted, they're like, oh hey, can you like give us some like insider secrets, like see what's going on, see what they're working on, like, and then we'll like give you like a nice cushy job. And she was like, I don't want to do that. And it's like, why? I thought she like didn't like them. Like the guy who fired her was like, "Oh, I'm trimming the fat," and she's like, "I'm the fat," and he's like, "Well, yeah, like fuck you, like leave."
And then she was like, "I'm fat. You're calling me fat," and he's like,
Yeah.
"You're being way too emotional about this."
Yeah, and then even then, I don't know if she knew at that point in time. I don't know like chronologically what happened, but like Lance was the VP and being a dick to her. Why would you not join that company then? Again, I don't know if that's the correct order. But right, wouldn't you be like, oh yeah, I'll fuck over that company to like inherently get it back my ex? But again, stop plot and storyline prevented that.
I mean, that's a better movie. That's honestly a better movie. She uses her marketing expertise to get her family's business, which again, like for as smart as she was and as young as she was going for a VP of marketing position, she doesn't then use her marketing skills, or maybe she does and we just don't see it, on the fucking tree lot.
Well,
like
yes, absolutely. Like she didn't like go out and like get adverts or like get a billboard, make a billboard. All she did was like put up Christmas lights, and that's like the main thing they harp on is like, oh, it looks Christmassy now. You put up Christmas lights.
And her friend and Maria gave her that idea. That wasn't even her idea.
Exactly. That's another like it's put in place that she has like knowledge of other stuff. She's smart. She's well accomplished. Like and then she like doesn't like do any of her like skills like that her like previous job had. Maybe that's why she got fired, is because she didn't have any.
But then gets hired, did so well selling trees on the lot that she gets hired by the department store that she works next to, from a guy that begrudgingly hates her for a couple of weeks before Christmas.
This movie,
Hallmark movies, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a lot of like there's no message. There's no message. There, you don't learn anything from this movie. It's not like setting an example or anything like that.
You know what we did learn, Andy?
What?
No D, no V, baby.
Yes, I was wondering how we're gonna bring this up. So let's break that scene down. So there's all of a sudden they had like helpers with them at the lot. Or those people just buying Christmas trees?
I think it was pandering to they were wearing football jerseys. I think they were pandering to them.
Okay,
but I have no idea what the fuck no D no V is.
So Shane, the cousin, gathers a bunch of these guys who I guess were buying Christmas trees in football jerseys, and has them in like a huddle. And he just goes, all right, boys, defense means everything. I'm paraphrasing. So it's like, defense means everything. Remember, no D, no V. That's not paraphrased.
Yeah. So we watched it back like 4 times, trying to like, we like going back more. Maybe we missed something. Like going forward, maybe they explain it. Nothing.
What do you think no D, no V means?
I fucking idea. Like, the obvious innuendo, yeah. But...
well, yeah, dick and vagina. Yes. Okay. Are you locking that in as your answer?
What could it be?
I'm thinking it's defense and victory.
Okay.
Again, Canadian. Canadians thinking about what football means.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, now that you said it, just like kind of fucking... the puzzle pieces are going together. And I'm like, oh, okay. But still, the first time I heard that, I was just like fucking so like taken back. I was like, what
I was bewildered. That made no sense. Shane also has another one of my favorite lines, which is, that was totally uncool.
Yeah. So after the fact that, so they got home from their first ice skating date, which we'll go into. That ice skating date was interesting.
Yes. Her and Darren, Elise and Darren.
Yeah. So they're walking back to the tree lot, and her cousin Shane, I was about to say brother, fucking god, was fucking just like tying mistletoe around the place, and then like is staring at them, being like, "Oh, I set the mistletoe. You got to fucking kiss now." And then they do, and then she's like, "Well, honestly, Darren, I'm not looking for anything too serious right now. You know, like I'm like in a weird spot in my life." And Darren just goes, "All right, cool," like, and just leaves.
And then Shane comes sauntering over and just goes, wow, that was Mr. Totally Uncool.
But like that's the level of like fucking writing that was in this movie. Was I off the top of my head did that because I don't remember the lines at all, and that's pretty much how it went, right, Angie?
No, that I thought that was how the scene went. I thought you wrote down lines. I mean, just wow. Like, I mean, again, I want to start pulling dialogue from some of these scenes and making that one of our bits that we do where we read like a scene of like me and you playing other characters. It has been so hard through the last couple movies that we've done. And this was no easier. The dialogue was absolute shit. And like nothing meaningful said. Even, do you remember what they said to each other at the end of the movie when he shows up late to Christmas dinner?
Nope, completely escaped my mind.
The only thing that comes to my mind is that Elise says, so he's like, am I late for dinner? And she goes, we got cold Kung Pao chicken. That's all I remember.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that sounds very familiar.
And that was their love scene.
Do you want to read some lines?
Oh, yeah. I don't have any lines.
Yeah, ready? I'll be the old lady in the taxi. Boy, howdy, do you need a big, strong man to get this tree in my trunk?
And I think she says, I know. And then Darren walks up behind her after he's been trying to get her for like days on end, helps this old woman, shove a fucking Christmas tree in the trunk of a New York City taxi.
Yeah.
And then turns to her.
Taxi.
And then turns to Elise and is like, I've been trying to get you for days, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, how do I know? He's like, can I just get a cup of coffee? I've bought like 4 treats from you. And she's like, how do I know you're not like a serial murderer? And he goes, here's my license, my gym membership, my ID. Like, I'm an organ donor. What the fuck was that?
Yeah, that was weird. And then, so let's get into their like first coffee date thing.
Oh,
so,
God.
Like, it gets into like, oh, like he's a teacher. Oh, like, you know, he's like, oh, I can be like, oh, yeah, teaching is cool, but it's like, he's like, oh, it's like not rewarding at all, and it sucks. I was like, oh, okay, we're getting real for a second. Do you remember what he actually said?
He was like, yeah, he was saying like, yeah, I mean, I wish the pay was better. That's all I kind of remember.
Oh, okay.
And he was like, yeah, I mean, like the kids are cool.
Yeah, like I remember him being like, oh yeah, it's not really like nothing like notable. Like teaching is teaching. It's like anything else. I was like, oh, all right. Like
life's work. Life's work. Did they have a thing with the coffee?
Yeah, they went to the coffee shop, didn't they?
Yeah, and then
or maybe they're just seen walking around with it, and then they go and find the ice skating thing that she was like, oh, I used to skate here as a kid.
Yeah, and it was an inside skating rink.
Yeah, which like now that I'm thinking, it sounds super fucking Canadian. You know what I mean? At
the bottom of a skyscraper.
Yeah, I was like, oh shit, they're going to Rockefeller. What kind of money they got to rent the Rockefeller fucking? I was like, oh, it's some random Canadian indoor ice rink.
That was why I was like, oh, indoor fucking skating rink at the bottom of the first floor of a fucking skyscraper. That's beautiful. And then he can't skate.
Yeah.
And he's like scared. And then he pretty much just falls over himself the entire time.
The entire time, yeah, he falls like 5 times, and then I don't know what happens. I think they just get up and the scene is over.
Well, like, what happens is that like little kids, remember, like little kids kept on skating through them.
Oh yes.
To be like dicks. I don't know what the point of that was.
Well, you ever been on a free skate and the kids are dicks?
Yeah, you know, don't you hate it when you're fucking chest to chest with a person that asked you out and you're having a great old time and you're teaching them how to skate, and then some fucking kid's just like, hey, excuse me.
I missed to watch it. They're in New York.
And he takes a fucking header.
Oh yeah, the first time he falls, I genuinely think he broke his arm. Like he landed right on his wrist. Like that guy did not know how to ice skate.
Well, I think he did a Freudian slip. Hey, no, I think he fell on purpose. He tried to like fall really hard on purpose and then just like went too hard.
Yeah.
Like I hope that floor was padded.
That ice. Yeah. You ever land on some ice, dude?
I hope it wasn't ice. I hope he had like. I hope it was just superimposed because I couldn't tell what the fuck was going on there.
Yeah, because it was the way it was shot. Not to like fucking say anything about it, but it was weird. Like it was. They were on like boxes with like fake snow, and then they got up and they were on an ice rink, and like the shot was so in close on them. Then he fell 3 times, and then they like skated a couple, like 3-4 feet forward, and then the scene ended.
Yeah,
it felt so weird.
It was very weirdly shot. I feel like they weren't there.
Yeah, right.
There's like skaters behind them. I feel like those guys were fucking. They were skating in front of a like or doing something in front of a background. I don't think they were actually there. I think the kids were there that skate through them. I don't think there was people in the background that were like, in those giant massive like columns that just skate around, how people do it. And I think those people just were not there. Yeah, another thing that was like so strange, which we've referenced a little bit before, was the family that she brings the tree to, where it's just like a husband and wife who like they have a different ornament for every single event in their life, and then they proceed to tell Elise the story.
Well, not event, like he was just like, obviously not pulling that at random, but pulling them out at random and like, oh, this is this Kristen, remember that? And she was like, oh, I was in the hospital and that and whatever. And then like they're pulling it out and being like, oh, that was the best Christmas, that was the best worst Christmas. That was, I like that.
They kept on going, oh yeah, we got that from the gift shop. Oh yeah, we went to the hospital gift shop and got that one.
Oh yeah, that's another recurring thing. They're like, oh, I guess we love gift shop ornaments.
And then it comes up later. I forgot who says it. I think Darren says it.
No, yeah, okay, right. Darren went, I went to the gift shop and got you ice skates to remind us of our first date. And she was like, that's the most romantic thing anyone's ever done. And Darren's just like looking at her like eyes just gloss over, like, what did I do? Like, what?
And he says, that's the most romantic thing I've ever done?
Yeah.
By the way, no connection to Darren and these people that she met.
Yeah. They come up twice, but 3 times. At the tree lot, at home, and then at the tree lot again when she is actively giving birth.
Yes, she starts having birth. So at the end scene, let's get into the end scene then.
Sure.
Because so like in the last 20 minutes, Colin Mockery's character, Mr. Dixon, he ends up like finally finding a way. He calls the fire department on them and gets the entire tree light gone because they say it's a safety hazard, which he signed a contract. They all signed a contract to do. So I don't know how the fuck they got out of that. Mm-hmm. But they get rid of the trees, and then like Darren finds out, like bribes him by giving him Knicks tickets that he won at a charity raffle.
Yeah, he gives the driver Knicks tickets.
Oh, I thought it was Dixon.
No. He gave the driver Knicks tickets to be like, hey, where does Dixon go every day at 12?
Oh, that's right. They're like, that was like in the middle of the movie. They like look and they see him leaving at like 12 o'clock. They're like, where is he going at 12?
Yeah. Also, it was like we were still like 12 at night. Like, what do you mean?
It was
like,
dark.
It was like dark. Yeah.
That was wild. So we find.
So wait, hold on. Let me just intervene real quick. Maybe that's like the Canadian winter, like 12, like Christmas 12 is fucking like
just like how Antarctica's dark. 12
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, go
ahead. So we find out that he goes to a botanical garden, and there's a bench placard that has his dead wife, her name on it, and he plants in a botanical garden.
All right, so ready? Let me just. So his wife, loved Christmas like through and through. She was like, oh, like Christmas my favorite holiday. Like loved going to Christmas parties, all that stuff. Like, and then she died. That's like saying, oh yeah, my wife loved fucking cats. The second she died, I killed all of them because I hate cats now. You know what I mean? Like, and then on a dime, he just goes, "You know what? She would love it if I love Christmas now. What can I do to help?"
You're so right. I'm going to undo my wrongs.
Like, right? Like, what fucking? There wasn't like it was like a for no reason change of heart.
I was just trying to figure out that entire. I didn't again was like vaguely listening to the dialogue. I was trying to figure out why he was bringing orchids to a botanical garden. Like, what was he doing with those orchids in the botanical garden? Was he planting them? I was like,
I think what was said is they were her favorite, so he's planting them.
so he's planting flowers at a botanical garden.
Yeah, because they're her favorite, and she got a bench in the New York City Botanical Garden.
Again, literally, like the most. I didn't even know New York City had fucking botanical gardens in it, which there is. And like that is probably the most Canadian thing. They're like, we have to look for a garden somewhere. Is he gonna do it in Central Park? Nah, too like, oh, we're too obvious. We needed to choose specifically botanical gardens. Yeah. Like, and then yeah, we find out that his wife is dead and she liked Christmas and whatever, and then he changes his ways. Terrible acting by Colin Mockery. I mean, he just.
That's a whole other thing we didn't even get into. I thought when we saw him on the cast, I was like, oh, we have to do this movie now. I thought he was going to be like the funny dad, like the uncle who's like cracking jokes, making up fucking improv. He was just like bare bones, like, oh, I am the evil CEO. I'm the Scrooge of Christmas. Like, fear me. It was so weird.
I think it would be one thing if he wasn't like, if he was jaded, you know, like if he also hated Christmas because his wife died on Christmas and loved it so much, and like was like if he was more sarcastic about everything.
Yeah, it would have added a whole new life to the character.
Because he was so robotic. And then even after he's like, oh, I gotta do this for my wife or whatever, he fucking changes his ways, and then he's still fucking robotic.
Yeah. Oh, another thing to note that I just remembered, her birthday was on Christmas, and that's why he like connected them so much.
Yeah. And then that leads us back to the family with the ornaments, because after the entire lot gets refilled with all their trees and everything, they're selling trees nonstop. And then all of a sudden the wife, who is pregnant, just turns and goes, oh, my water's broke, the baby's coming. And they're like sprinting into a cab.
Oh, and the reason that the thing got lifted is literally just because she works at City Hall and like put in like a favor or something like that. It's like not explained.
Yeah.
Just like why they could sell trees again.
I forgot that was the reason.
Yeah.
Because of the botanical gardens, they're like, oh, it's too late. Tomorrow's Christmas.
Yeah. Or yeah, like the whatever, the maintenance fucking guys in the truck. We're like, oh, we can't do it. Like
it's Christmas Eve. We're supposed to be off.
Yeah. Oh, we didn't talk. We talked briefly about the guys doing hip hop, but do you remember like it? Because I always watch everything with the closed captioning. Also, closed captioning was so wrong. Every single
terrible.
Horrible.
Was terrible.
As she's like trawling the tree to the City Hall girl's house, Maria. We just see Christmas hip hop starts playing in the closed captioning, and we fucking died at that.
And you're like, what is this jazz music? And I'm like, it's obviously Christmas hip hop.
Because it was like an overbearing fucking saxophone. I'd like lower the volume.
It did not sound like hip hop. 1,000,000% did not sound like hip hop. Yeah, just weird scenes like that. One more scene I don't think we touched on that was a pretty like, what the fuck is going on scene is when Isaac takes ornaments out of the department store and like hangs them on a tree.
Yes.
And remember there was like the guy that was like standing around and he goes, oh my God, that tree is so beautiful. Does it come with the ornaments? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, I wasn't going to buy a tree this year.
Well, that was another fucking. We had to pause and be like, we were just explaining this whole guy's backstory. He was like, "Oh shucks, man, my wife fucking died. I don't know if I can afford a Christmas tree this year. Let me just look at the tree lot to see if they have anything." Like we were just like trying to like muster up anything for this guy to be here and be like, "Actually, did want a Christmas tree. I'm just gonna go to the tree lot."
And it's not even like, oh, he's walking by it on his way to work or whatever. He was next to the register. Like, he was deep in there.
Yeah, he took a few too many steps in the wrong direction if he didn't want a tree.
He was like, you know what? This pine scent is just fucking drawing me in right now. That was fucking wild. And then I think like this is all before we learn Dixon's backstory, and then Colin Mockery's character comes out and it's like, did you pay for those? And then he gives Isaac a warning when I think in any type of real life or whatever, he would have been fired.
Yeah. But that was another thing. Like, her, like, VP, whatever status or, like, knowledge should have been like, oh, hey, like, if you put these trees on, we'll tell people, oh, you can buy more ornaments in the store next door. And then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
hand in hand, like, like, put the fucking chocolate factory next to the whatever factory. I can't think of a good analogy.
Milk factory?
Yeah, chocolate and milk,
Yeah, kind of Maybe cookie factory next to milk factory.
There you go. Boom.
It just again, no stakes.
Yeah.
Like, just like nothing they did had stakes, and that really, it caused everything to be boring.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think we covered the entire movie, right?
Yeah, there's some other stuff. Like, there's like random like fade to blacks that I fucking pointed out every time, and I was like,
Oh my God. Yeah. Like a 90s fucking sitcom.
Yeah.
Just like, all right, let's go to the store tomorrow. Fade to black.
Yeah, there's some good quotes, but no, fucking, I think we're just gonna watch the same movie next week anyway, so why bother?
Well, I'm trying to get the furthest away because there's no way a movie with Billy Ray Cyrus in it is gonna be like this movie.
Okay, I hope you're right on that.
And whatever we choose next after that, a murder mystery about Christmas, bro.
Ooh.
No way.
That
way is it
sounds
gonna have the same.
tempting to do. Maybe we'll ask some of our guests what they think.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll be fine with it.
Yeah.
All right, Adam. Do you want to rate this movie?
Do you remember? I think we were on call last time. I was like, because of this specific thing, I'm rating at a full point lower. Do you remember what that reasoning was?
I do not.
Fuck. All right. I'm gonna pull up our list and. Okay, so in your opinion, where are you rating this compared to Jack and Jill?
I'm rating this a little bit higher.
Yeah. Okay. In that case, on that rationale, I'm gonna give this. I would rather watch Little Italy, so 1.4.
I spelled your name wrong. Okay. For me, I mean, this pales in comparison compared to Ice Road, and I think they're rated the same, right? 6.4 rating on IMDb. I'm giving this one a 2, just because I was giggling the entire fucking time.
That's fair, but honestly, this movie took me so fucking far back because I'm used to oh yeah, this movie is trying to be this, trying to be that. When you're a Christmas movie, you have nowhere to go. You know what I mean? There's nowhere. Someone's already done what you're doing the exact same way 50 different times. You're just doing it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So why aren't you giving this more of a break?
No, that's what made it so hard to watch.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean. I just think that, I don't know, I was giggling the whole time. This is a bad movie. This is a really bad movie.
Yeah.
And we might end up rating in the next couple of weeks Hallmark movies that go into the 7s, into the mid 7s, because some of the movies that we were looking at were rated that high. And I feel like they're going to be the same exact goddamn thing.
Well, I do want to talk a little bit about there's not a lot of reviews, but the reviews I am seeing are 5 stars, being I don't know what other people movies saw or what other movies people saw. This movie's great, such a good Christmas movie. Watch it with your friends and family, and I have no idea how a person with functioning brain is accomplishing typing this out and actually.
Because that's the point. You're not supposed to watch it with a functioning brain.
I know we can go worse in Hallmark movies. We didn't find the one yet, but my God, how much worse. You know what I mean? It's not like, oh yeah, if it's gonna get worse, it's how much.
I associate it with like watching the game show channel, right? Because it's just something like the old 70s game shows that like run constantly all day long. It's just, something you have on and you're like, like I can resonate with this and I get to turn my brain off and watch something.
But that's the thing. Even if it's like, oh, you're rooting for like the main character or whatever, like it's like you lose faith in her and then you don't and then you do. And it's
Yeah,
like,
well, it was never, there was never a build up. I mean, in terms of like story making, there's so many things wrong. There's no arc. She doesn't have an arc, really. Like,
yeah,
she was always good. Like, she was smiling for most of the movie. Like she never flipped out. Like when the guy was saying, like, "You sure you don't want to try like a Christmas macchiato or whatever the fuck?" And she didn't flip out on him. There was no sense of her being a bad person, but she just hated Christmas.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and that's another thing. We didn't go over it. The reason I know Sarah Lancaster is from she's the sister in Chuck, and she is in Scrubs. She's the gift shop girl, oddly enough.
yeah, and I feel like that's another like treasure trove of Hallmark is that they pull these randomly like these random people that you would know and you're like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, that person, they acted in this and the other thing.
All right. Anything else? Want to plug some Twitters? Want to plug some?
You can always follow us at Netflops Pod on Twitter. We will eventually get that shit together.
It's together.
It's a thing.
No, it's we just haven't gotten community interaction with it as much as we would
or
have
post
liked, you know?
or posted on it. Because we should be hashtagging the shit out of that and like reposting our episode every day and stuff until people find it, because that's what you kind of have to do is like the grindy beginnings, of doing this stuff and figuring out your social media presence. You could also follow me at Andy Doherty on all the social medias. I write about sports, blah blah blah.
You've heard this before.
Do people really care about sports?
If you're listening to the 15th podcast, we got you, baby. You're locked in. Our hook's set.
Just in case you didn't know, I write about sports. I write about sports. Give us your recommendations for movies. We're always willing to listen to them, and we're gonna have to vet them somehow. We'll figure out a way to do that. I keep on forgetting to do this over the last couple of weeks. Our theme song is made by the great Eric Van Dusen. He should deserve all the credit that he should get for that, and we were very thankful to have him as a friend. But I think that's it for me, Adam.
All right, let's send us off the review, baby. This one comes from Emmett, and he says, "I fell asleep, but like it fucking matters."
Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
All right, my name is Adam Janketic. Thanks.
Yep. Thank you guys. We'll talk to you guys next week. Bye-bye.